In 1970, I was 2 years old. My mom took me to the hospital and I was given the brand new 1970 rubella vaccine. Within 24 hours, my fever was nearly 105 and I had huge engorged lymph nodes in my groin. She rushed me into emergency. They took me away for emergency surgery, general anesthesia, tons of antibiotics, cut open my groin area, removed my lymph glands from my left side of my groin, kept me in the hospital for a week. And those are my first physical memories. At 2, you are independent. At 2, you have a voice. At 2, you know something's really wrong. I remember my father coming to visit me and I just screamed bloody murder when he left. And the nurse flipped my legs out from under me and put her hand over my mouth. And I looked up at her. And I remember that feeling of complete powerlessness. And I'm still pissed about it. They told my mother it was a reaction to bug bites. For years, she thought it was because the nurse didn't clean the shot site properly and it was a dirty shot site. Well, if it was a dirty shot site, guess what? I would have had a localized infection or a lump at the shot site. I had a screaming adverse reaction to the vaccine, and it's probable that the doctors weren't even aware that you could have an adverse reaction to this vaccine because they're not told anything. Only the top uppity up admins of the hospital know this is going to happen. Why I got experimental surgery on top of this experimental vaccine. And, after that, I just have a history of chronic infections, chronic strep, chronic staph. Then I had pneumonia. I've been diagnosed with pneumonia 13 times under chest x-ray. I've been hospitalized for it 3 times. It just goes on and on, insult to injury, right? My tonsils were removed, constantly strep throat, yada, yada, yada. And yet I am such a fighter. Never once did I think it was the vaccines. Never. I was involved in an experimental vaccine program through the virology clinic at the University of Washington. It was bioweapons research, but I didn't realize this until many years later, until after Tom, who was also involved with it, had become terribly sick, and we both had autoimmune, and he took his life, and I became a health nut, and I've been fighting ever since. So since then, I've learned so much more information, and I've talked to the labs in Washington, and I realized, I was in the military. I got ran through the cattle call. I got vaccines jabbed in both arms. I've been a human guinea pig all my life, and I'm not happy about it. And I still have fight left in me, but I sometimes question why. And I see what's going down with COVID. I absolutely do not believe the narrative. Of course not. I use chlorine dioxide. Thank God I have that therapeutic. They hate that one more than just about anything, more than ivermectin. But more mainstream doctors are starting to learn about ClO2, which is very interesting because if you speak of it as a therapeutic, you can go to prison. That's how tightly the lid is screwed on, even though there are medical patents out there and they use it in medicine all the time. Yeah, I don't believe what we're being told. And I have very good reason and personal experience and a lifetime of history to not believe.